But why is this so epic? And the answer is because the royal family is, quote, such a big deal. But why? So come at this from any angle you want. I am going to deploy one of my favourite devices at this point. I am going to pretend that I have just arrived from Mars. Okay, so I don't know any history. I don't know any context. I know nothing. I just know that this is the royal family. This is the biggest news in the world. This is yada, yada, boom, boom. But why do we have a royal family? I genuinely just want to hear your answer to that question. Why do we have a royal family in 2022? I know why we had one in 1066, but why do we have one in 2022? Why do we have a royal family? Because one of the big arguments historically was the mystique, the magic, even the quasi-religious status, the divine right of kings, very popular concept going right back, I think, right back actually. But that doesn't really wash anymore. They're just as dysfunctional, as messed up and as feuding as any family you think of. They're like the Corkhills out of Brookside, but with crowns. So why do we have a royal family? Why in Britain, in the United Kingdom in 2022, what, in your words, that's all. So I say to you in Martian, and you translate it into English. You say, why do you have a royal family? And you say, well, I'll tell you why, Martian James, why do we have a royal family?
Imagine landing on this planet for the very first time, October 2025, Britain. The air is crisp, the city bustling with life, and everything feels both familiar and strange. You're eager to understand this new place, to get a sense of what matters to its people and how their society works. So, you do what any curious visitor might. You turn on the TV, expecting to learn about the country's leaders, its values, and the issues that shape daily life here. You hope for insight into the heart of Britain, but instead of politicians or public debates, you're greeted by images of a family draped in jewels and medals, waving from a grand palace balcony. They live in opulence, their every move funded by the public purse, their lives a spectacle for millions. News anchors speak of them with a mix of reverence and gossip, dissecting their outfits and family dramas. This is the royal family, led by a king whose only real qualification is the accident of his birth, a role inherited, not earned. The contrast is impossible to ignore. On one channel, you see people queuing at food banks, struggling to make ends meet. On another, there's a royal ribbon cutting, all smiles and ceremony. The divide between privilege and hardship is laid bare, all wrapped in centuries-old tradition. Horses, carriages, and men in bearskin hats parade through the streets, a lavish theatre of pageantry. Yet, as you watch, you can't help but wonder, does anyone ever question why this elaborate system still exists in the modern world? The mystique that once surrounded the monarchy seems to have faded, replaced by a taxpayer-funded spectacle that sells the illusion of stability and unity. Behind the scenes, it's a carefully managed performance, designed to maintain tradition and national identity. As you watch the reactions of ordinary British citizens, some proud, others sceptical, you start to ask yourself, are the people truly getting a fair deal, or are they simply footing the bill for a very expensive national mascot, clinging to a past that may no longer serve the present? One face dominates the news, Prince Andrew, the King's brother, a man whose presence lingers in the public eye no matter how much the palace wishes he would disappear. His story is impossible to ignore, casting a long shadow over the royal family and the institution they represent. He's become a symbol of the monarchy's flaws, a living reminder that even the most powerful families are not immune to scandal, yet often seem immune to its consequences. His scandal, connections to a convicted sex offender, accusations of assault, a disastrous TV interview, captivated the world and left the monarchy scrambling to contain the fallout. The story ends not with a trial or public reckoning, but with a quiet settlement behind closed doors. For many, this feels like a denial of justice, a way to sweep uncomfortable truths out of sight. He finally gives up his Duke of York title, a gesture meant to signal accountability, but it's little more than a symbolic act. Despite the scandal, he remains in a lavish mansion, untouched by real consequences, his lifestyle unchanged, while the public is left to wonder about fairness. Ordinary people face eviction for missed rent, struggling to keep a roof over their heads in a system that rarely shows mercy. Meanwhile, Andrew lives in luxury, shielded by birthright and privilege, his status protecting him from the hardships others endure. The monarchy claims to be a moral compass, guiding the nation with values and tradition, but its actions often tell a different story. When scandal hits, the institution closes ranks, protecting itself rather than the public it's meant to serve, leaving questions unanswered and wounds unhealed. The royal family's priority is brand management, not accountability. Image is everything, and the truth is often sacrificed to preserve it. Prince Andrew's saga exposes a system where the rules don't apply to the privileged, where connections and titles shield individuals from the consequences others would surely face. For most, this isn't just unfair. It's a painful reminder that some are still more equal than others, and that justice is not always blind. The monarchy's lack of accountability is a slap in the face to ordinary citizens, fueling anger and disillusionment with an institution that claims to represent them, but too often protects its own. The media's treatment of royal women, especially Kate and Meghan, is a study in double standards. Their every move is scrutinized, but the lens through which they are viewed could not be more different. The press, hungry for stories, often amplifies these differences, shaping public opinion in ways that are both subtle and overt. Kate is praised for her silence and conformity. Meghan, an American and woman of color, is relentlessly criticized for speaking out. The same actions, whether it's holding a baby bump or wearing a certain dress, are celebrated in one and condemned in the other. The contrast is stark, and it's impossible to ignore the underlying biases at play. Kate's choices are celebrated, Meghan's are attacked. The narrative is clear, tradition is rewarded, while difference is punished. Meghan's attempts to carve out her own space within the royal family are met with suspicion and hostility, while Kate's adherence to protocol is seen as virtuous. When Meghan discusses mental health and racism, she's branded a troublemaker. Her willingness to speak openly about her struggles is twisted into a sign of weakness or rebellion rather than courage. The media rarely gives her the benefit of the doubt, instead framing her honesty as a threat to the institution. The palace, quick to defend its own in scandal, stays silent as Meghan is vilified. This silence speaks volumes, suggesting that protecting the status quo is more important than standing up for one of their own. The lack of support only fuels the negative coverage, leaving Meghan isolated. The message, silent women are assets, outspoken ones are threats. The royal family's preference for quiet compliance over passionate advocacy is clear, and it sends a powerful signal to women everywhere about what is valued and what is not. The contrast reveals deep hypocrisy, an institution more comfortable with scandal than with change. The monarchy's resistance to self-reflection and progress is laid bare, as it clings to outdated traditions rather than embracing the opportunity to evolve. This isn't just gossip, it's a reflection of broader issues of race and misogyny. The treatment of Meghan and Kate is a microcosm of society's larger struggles with inclusion, fairness, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. For outsiders, the royal family looks less like a unifying force and more like a symbol of division. The world is watching, and the story of these two princesses is a reminder that real change requires more than just pageantry. It demands honesty, empathy, and the courage to challenge the status quo. The monarchy's future rests on William and Kate, presented as modern and hard-working. Their public appearances are celebrated, but their actual workload is surprisingly light. Kate's decade-long project on early childhood is mostly photo ops and vague outcomes. Their work is raising awareness, posing for cameras, shaking hands, and leaving. The media hails these brief visits as tireless service, but is it really work or just performance? Ordinary charity workers labour for real change. Royals get praise for showing up. The PR machine needs them to appear busy, justifying their privilege. From the outside, it looks like a cushy arrangement with little substance. King Charles III is known as an environmentalist, championing climate action from the throne. He gives speeches on saving the planet, but his lifestyle, multiple estates, private jets, and lavish spending contradicts his message. The sovereign grant now tops $132 million a year, funding royal luxury. The public is urged to make sacrifices, while the king lives in excess. This hypocrisy undermines his credibility as a climate advocate. Charles is trapped. He wants to be modern, but his role demands unsustainable grandeur. He can't be a true climate champion while presiding over inherited privilege. The monarchy talks progress, but can't escape its own excess. The contradiction exposes its inability to truly modernize. Defenders claim the monarchy is vital for tourism, bringing billions to Britain. But do tourists really come to see the royals or the history and architecture? Palaces like the Tower of London and Windsor Castle are attractions because of their past, not their current residents. France's Versailles thrives without a monarchy. History, not living royals, draws crowds. If anything, opening palaces fully to the public could boost revenue. The tourism argument is a red herring, conflating heritage with the current royal family. Britain's appeal is broader: Shakespeare, the Beatles, football, and landscapes. The idea that tourism would collapse without royals is unsubstantiated. It's an insult to the richness of British culture. The monarchy is supposed to unite the nation, above politics and division. But in 2025, it's more likely to unite people in exasperation than admiration. Scandals, hypocrisy, and cost have led to widespread fatigue. Younger generations are skeptical of inherited privilege. Prince Andrew's scandal and Meghan's treatment have damaged the monarchy's moral standing. The royals now represent a narrow, outdated Britain, highlighting division rather than unity. Debates about the monarchy mirror wider culture wars. The shared national experience is no longer reverence, but collective disbelief. After observing Britain, the conclusion is clear. The monarchy is an outdated relic. It clashes with modern values of democracy and meritocracy. Arguments for its existence, tourism, unity, public service, don't hold up. What remains is a system of unearned privilege, shielding one family from consequences. The real question: why do the British tolerate it? Maybe it's comfort, fear of change, or the power of tradition. But from the outside, it looks like a nation clinging to a security blanket it's outgrown. The monarchy isn't a symbol of greatness, but of reluctance to embrace the present, a relic whose time has passed.
The submission itself sounds nice. And to my amazing and peculiar Sussex family, thank you all for watching our videos and tuning in to Daily Diaries Friday's update. Keep it light, keep it there, and see you next time in our next episode. Bye bye. May you have a good day and a good time. Keep shining. Bye bye.